472, where you're charged with count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. Count 47, conspiracy to commit a crime. Count 48, participation in criminal street gang activity. And count 55, conspiracy to commit a crime. How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with a full knowledge of the charges against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have only a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes, ma'am.
Activity including murder, assault, and threats of violence. Also preserving, protecting, and enhancing the reputation, power, and territory of the enterprise. YSL started in the late 2012 in the Cleveland Avenue area of Atlanta, Georgia, and that some of the founders of this enterprise was Jeffrey Williams, also known as Young Thug, also known as Slime, Walter Murphy, also known as DK, and Trontavia Stevens, also known as Tick, postings of this defendant with other members of YSL posted on the internet. Specifically, 2 of the crimes that he is charged with, Your Honor, in this indictment are actually 2 telephone calls of individuals who were both housed at the Fulton County Jail. The first phone call was on February 22nd, 2022, Your Honor, and this is a phone call by one of the co-defendants, Christian Eppinger. That individual called this defendant asking permission from a person known as Slime, whether or not he would have permission to harm YFN Lucci, also known as Rashard Bennett. Your Honor, that phone call came after Mr. Bennett had already been attacked by other members of the YSL gang in the jail. Your Honor, although Mr. Sumlin did take the phone call and agreed, it does not appear that that ever took place. Nothing happened to Mr. Bennett subsequent to a phone call on April 7, 2022, where another co-defendant by the name of Cordarius Dorsey also called Mr. Sumlin on a jail call and asked Mr. Sumlin to either rob an individual known as Head. Mr. Dorsey provided Mr. Sumlin with the phone number to kind of set up an armed robbery and whatever would happen after that armed robbery. We later found through investigation that Head was an individual by the name of Harold Bennett. What we learned is there was nothing that happened to Mr. Bennett afterwards. So there was this agreement on the telephone. However, it does not appear that anything happened subsequent to those 2. In addition to the those 2 phone calls is how Mr. Sumlin has furthered the enterprise in this case, and that's what the state would have expected to prove in this case we're going to want to try.
All right. Before signing this indictment, did you have the opportunity to fully discuss all of the facts and circumstances therein with your attorney, Mr. Hoover, to your satisfaction?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything about the indictment you wish to ask me or ask any questions about?
No, sir.
All right. I'll note the indictment has been signed and the plea has been entered. Mr. Sumlin, based upon the responses that you've given during the court's inquiry, I find that your guilty plea is freely and voluntarily entered. I find a factual basis for your plea. I'm going to accept your plea as tendered and as negotiated. As it pertains to you in count 1, that's conspiracy to violate the Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. This court will sentence you to 15 years to serve on probation subject to the special conditions that have been set forth on the record. I agree to testify as to the acknowledgments that you have made within the terms of the plea agreement. Is that correct?
Yes,
the factual acknowledgments.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay, all right. And then also you agree not to possess any guns.
Oh, yo, it's Big Ant the Spokesman, man. Back another edition of Urban Politicians TV, UPTV. Make sure you stay on your pivot at all times, man. Had to come tap in on the Ysl State Rico case in Georgia, which is actually once again scheduled to start trial next month on January 9th. Jury selection is supposed to go down January 4th. And I'm going to have all the links in the description from Law and Crime where y'all can watch this full segment in, where Antonio Sumlin, a.k.a. Obama, is no longer innocent until proven guilty of his charges. He pled guilty, admitted YSL is a gang that does violence, crime, destruction to the community, and took his role in saying, hey, I actually was on the phone call discussing a hit, on the phone discussing a hit for YFN Lucci, also on the phone discussing a robbery. And in the courtroom, they gonna say that's in furtherance of the gang. He pled guilty to that. So he's now YSL gang member. So with that being said, he has the option to go to court when they ask him and say, hey, I plead the fifth with some questions I gotta answer. And I'm gonna keep it 1,000. The streets, they gonna say he's snitching. I ain't gonna say it yet, because supposedly with the verbiage and the word semantics, they are saying that nothing he said in these plea deals can be used in court to hurt any individual. But if you go on that stand and you answer incorrectly, or you decide to testify against them, you are a rat and a snitch. Or if anything you have said get brought up in the court, you are a rat and a snitch. Just keeping it all the way 1,000. I'm going to wait until that day come, and we shall see. Street niggas ain't trying to hear it, though. They don't want to hear this under no circumstances. But like I say, when you out here in the streets, turn the rules off, because ain't nobody gonna keep it solid. No nigga trying to go to trial and say, you know what, YSL the gang, I ain't admitting to nothing, just take me to trial and give me 40, 50. That nigga got 15 years probation, my nigga. And them is some heavy circumstances for 15 years to follow. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. got to be in the crib and things of that nature. But hey, nigga want to go home. Nigga ain't trying to do that type of time. And as I said before, everything will come out, all the facts. And this is how the game go. Young Thug and everybody else on trial is still innocent until proven guilty. I stand on that because I have to run to everything factual. That's just what I stand on. And this is how the game go when you dive in that water. We got to do better. If you grew up in these streets, these are the consequences. And not saying nobody is guilty who ain't been tried or convicted yet, but this is the consequences if you do things like this. You will face this. You will be in the courtroom. All your information will be public. Your cell phone will be brought up. What you're talking about, what you're discussing, that's what they own now. And we seeing it time and time again, watching it in real time. This is how the game is going to go. Tell me what y'all think about this. We got more shit coming, more videos, all that. 1,000 for shit show. Stay on your pivot. More coming.